What if Yoda ever turned to the dark side? What would the galaxy look like as a result of his turn, and who, if anyone, could stand toe-to-toe with a being of such power if this ever happened? Welcome to another Star Wars video, where in this installment I hope to explain what it would look like if Yoda himself ever turned to the dark side, and I actually stumbled upon something pretty interesting in that we might have seen something similar to what Yoda could have looked like already in the Star Wars universe, so go ahead and stay tuned and I hope you enjoy the video. First, I want to explain why someone like Yoda would never want to turn to the dark side, and why he never really was tempted at all with turning. Yoda, for all purposes, is the pinnacle of what a Jedi should be. He doesn't crave power, all he craves is knowledge and peace. The things that often turn individuals to the dark side is the quick and easy path to power and influence over others. This leads into my point. Since Yoda is 900 years old, he never really felt a huge urge to gain as much power as possible. Because he had such a long lifespan, he could take all the time he needed and choose what he considered to be the wiser path in obtaining power and influence. And by this, of course, I mean that he chose the light over the dark, since he saw the many advantages the light had to offer and the many disadvantages that the dark had. Yoda never really felt a huge need to get anywhere extremely quickly. In fact, he didn't even join the Jedi Order until he was well into his 70s and had lived basically a standard life outside of the Jedi Order. And with Yoda not craving power and domain over others, he still became one of the most powerful and wise Jedi of all time. So what would it ever look like if he decided to switch sides and convert to the dark? What would be the result for this, not only for Yoda, but for everyone else in the wide galaxy? Well, I believe there is even a direct quote from Yoda Dark Rendezvous that addresses that exact scenario. At this moment, Yoda turned and Dooku gasped. Whether it was a play of the holomonitors beaming their views of black space and distant battles, or some other trick of the light, Yoda's face was deeply hidden in the shadows, and for one terrible instant, he looked exactly like Darth Sidious. Or rather, it was Yoda as he might have been, or could yet become, a Yoda gone rotten, a Yoda whose awesome powers had been utterly unleashed by his connection to the dark side. In a flash, Dooku saw how foolish he had been, trying to urge the old master to the dark side. If Yoda ever turned that way, Sidious himself would be annihilated. The universe had yet to comprehend the kind of evil that a Jedi Knight of nearly 900 years could wield. This quote gave us a little peek into what an evil Yoda could look like. Yoda would be incredibly powerful, and as it said, even possibly able to annihilate Sidious, one of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time. It even directly says that he would look similarly to Sidious, since to Dooku, Sidious is the closest thing he would have been able to compare such an immersion in the dark side to. Anything like this would, however, never happen. It's not at all what Yoda is about. It would go against his entire character and who he was. He never wanted any of the things the Sith want, and it is about letting others do what they believe is right, not bending things to fit the way he believes they should be. If, in a scenario where Yoda was the opposite and wanted nothing but power, I would compare him to Lord Vitiate, who is honestly the closest thing we have to an evil version of Yoda. Vitiate's goal was to become as close to a godlike being as possible, with him craving nothing but power and dominion over the galaxy, and to do so, he created wars and attempted to destroy entire cultures through manipulation or even directly attacking them. Vitiate was even able to turn Revan and Malak to his side to achieve these goals. A Jedi should not be afraid of death, since it is in the natural progression of life, as Yoda himself told Anakin, but Vitiate again was quite the opposite. Vitiate did not want to die, and was willing to go through unnatural and terrible ways of ensuring his long life, such as transferring his consciousness between host bodies and safeguarding his original form to ensure he stayed alive, a process a corrupt Yoda would also most likely eventually partake in. Time and time again, over the centuries, Vitiate changed bodies and refused to die, even at one point near the end of his long life, embedding his consciousness in another's mind. However, as all Sith will, he eventually did die. If you research the life and accomplishments of Lord Vitiate, I believe it would be the exact same scenario and effect on the galaxy as if Yoda ever turned to the dark. Millions would die, and his reign would be long and terrifying, but it would eventually end, and Yoda would never have the opportunity to transcend the physical plane and become a Force ghost. If Yoda ever turned evil, when he left the galaxy, it would be a shell of its former self, and the consequences would be long-lasting and felt for generations to come. And ironically, this result would be the one thing Yoda would want the least, and would not only do anything he could to prevent others from having this fate befall them, but would never dream of inflicting such pain upon others. But again, if Yoda did turn to the dark and did want these things, he would breed great conflict, and conflict does still breed greatness. Imagine Yoda killing a large majority of the Jedi and having the rest go into hiding, and with maybe the combined tutelage of a survived Anakin and Obi-Wan, training Luke and Leia to go face off against Emperor Yoda together and witness the group of 4 Jedi attacking and attempting to overthrow Yoda to end his reign of terror would still be an awesome and honestly not too drastically far off from what we had happen in the original Star Wars films. And that is why Star Wars is great. Whenever great evil arises, heroes also arise to answer the call to arms, and if this happened, we honestly could end up seeing classic heroes we know and love fighting a very similar fight, only this time against Yoda. Anyway guys, that's just what I think would happen if Yoda ever turned to the dark side. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and really, Emperor Vitiate is a really interesting character, and if you want to get more into Star Wars, I really recommend you reading up on him. I absolutely love him, and honestly, he's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. Anyway, again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.